throughout my life, reading has been somewhere I've been able to go if, I'm having problems or worries. And I think it's one of the reasons I became a writer as well, because I love disappearing into my characters and my plots. I find it such a kind of a safe place, and it's kind of just where I like to be. It's my happy place, reading or writing. And I think that you cannot be a writer unless you're a reader.
When I was a kid, I spent pretty much every Saturday in Eason. I would end up being brought in by my granny and my granddad. We would go in and I'd be given free rein of pretty much whatever I want, which I'm eternally grateful to them for even to this day. Like you don't fall off that horse. If you've got that from the time you're a kid, then chances are you're still going to be doing that when you're my age. And even now, I always have a book with me. I'm never at a point anywhere when I'm traveling, I'm working, I'm away, where I don't have a book stashed somewhere. And I don't think you've read this one, is John Connell's The Cow Book. John Connell's a writer.
Yeah.
He's somebody who ends up coming back home to the family farm in Longford for a year. Completely opened my eyes to the way that this huge chunk of people in the country live their everyday lives. And there's a huge amount of drama in it as well, which is really nice.
Well, on the non-fiction side, I chose Educated by Tara Westover. This is just jaw-dropping. Her father never registered her birth, so she actually doesn't exist. The first time she sets foot inside a classroom, she's 17, and yet through sheer grit and determination, she somehow 10 years later ends up with a PhD from Cambridge, which is just extraordinary.
And I'm ashamed to tell you that's been on my to-be-read shelf for about the last 6 months.
Okay.
I will. I'm going to get there.
it.
No, I am. I'm going to get there. So by complete contrast, I'm going to give you Sally Rooney's Conversations with Friends. It's set in Trinity College in Dublin, and it's set in South County Dublin with people who have a few quid. I talked to her a while back and we did an event together, and she said that it's all about middle class people having affairs, and that's exactly what it's about. It's a great read. Tons of people have picked up on it since it came out, and I'm kind of glad that I'm getting the opportunity to maybe put it in front of people who haven't seen it so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It's supposed to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. This is a fantastic book. Again, it's set actually in Korea. The writer, Marilyn Bracht, her mother, she was brought up in America, but her mother is of Korean descent. And before she wrote this book, she went back to visit her mother's village that she never visited before. And it was only then that she learned about the comfort women. And the comfort women were women who were kidnapped by Japanese soldiers during the Second World War and put in brothels to comfort the Japanese soldier. Hannah, the older sister, saves little sister's life, and she gets captured by the Japanese. It's jaw-dropping, it's devastating, it's heartbreaking, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I couldn't recommend it more.
Our next one from me is The Hoarder. It's wonderful. It's set in a kind of sprawling, decrepit Victorian mansion that's falling to pieces in London. There is a big, hulking old Irish man who lives in the house and owns it. He's also a hoarder. The main character in this, Maud, is the woman who's sent in to take care of him and to try and convince him to maybe clean up a little bit. She's a social care worker. I love Jess Kidd's work, and I think that's something that's definitely worth reading.
Absolutely fantastic. So this is a cracking little read by Celeste Ng. I loved her first book actually, so I was really looking forward to reading this. Little fires everywhere, and the Richardson family are a pillar of the society. But when they rent their apartment to a very kind of free-spirited photographer called Mia and her daughter Pearl, their whole lives are turned upside down. It's about class, it's about race, but most of all it's about motherhood in all its forms. What I love about Celeste Ng's books is they really surprise you. There's so many twists and turns, and you really, really care about the characters, and it's just a really lovely read. Just sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, I read her first book and loved it as well. Okay.
Yeah.
My final one is a non-fiction pick, which I started reading at the very beginning of January when I decided I was going to do Dry January this year. It's called The Unexpectable Joy of Being Sober. Her name is Catherine Greig. As a result of working in the industry she worked in, she ended up going to a lot of boozy parties and a lot of lunches and a lot of launches and a lot of places where alcohol was freely available. She said herself if she'd continued drinking the way she was drinking, she'd die. This book is about that story, but it's also then about how she gets herself from there to sobriety. She's been sober 4 years now. It's about how we all need to have a look at our attitude towards alcohol, but not immediately, I know that might make you think, in a preachy way. It's not preachy in any way, shape or form. And she talks about the whole sobriety movement in the UK as well, where people organise their social lives and parties all around sober events.
So my final choice is Julia Kelly, the Irish novelist. It is a incredibly moving and heartbreaking account of her partner, Charlie Whisker, the Irish artist. His very sad descent into Alzheimer's. It's very an unsentimental look at it, but she really goes into the nitty-gritty. She doesn't hold back. So after reading the Eason long list, I chose these 4 books because for me they were kind of just a lovely mixture of fiction and non-fiction, and I feel, you know, different writers from different parts of the world, and set in different parts of the world as well, which I think gives it a nice mixture as well. But definitely within the first 100 pages, these 4 books for me, the ones I chose, stood out. Absolutely had a kind of a shining light around them, and I am so excited to share them with everybody else.
I think you are far more organised than me. Mine was far more a random selection process. I was lucky in that a couple of the ones that I have chosen from my 4 were ones that I'd read already, and they were ones that I was kind of telling people about anyway, so this is just doing it on a much bigger scale. And for the other ones, I mean, actually the John Connell's The Cow Book, which is one of my choices, was the last thing I read before the deadline, before we had to make a solid choice. So I just found the ones I looked at and went, oh, those 4. Yeah, they kind of fulfill those. But again, it's nice, and this is going to change over the course of time as we do this.
Absolutely, I think it's a really gorgeous mixture. I think the 8 books work really well together.
We're loving these books, and we think you will too.